our hero Yang Jin got tragically reincarnated as a weak little mushroom in the deepest depths of the underground. Now he's leading a squad that's constantly dealing with raids that literally never stop. Our leader is in a massive pinch, but he's grinding to evolve and take over the underground. Drop a like and comment to help the channel, and let's jump right into the story. Our guy has no idea what's going on. Everything just went dark out of nowhere. But then he realizes something is covering his eyes. He's shocked when he sees his new hand and figures out he turned into a monster. Still confused, he starts feeling himself up, trying to figure out what happened to his body. Staring into the distance, he goes completely still for a moment. Catching his reflection in a puddle, he totally loses it and screams, demanding to know what kind of face that even is. He concludes he went too far, died, and came back as a mushroom, and now he's devastated he can't flirt with girls anymore, demanding his handsome face back. Out of nowhere, a voice calls out, "Brother X Xingbao." He turns around and spots a shadow approaching in the distance. His eye goes wide, trying to focus on who's coming, but right after he rubs his eyes, convinced he's seeing things, the reflection in his eye reveals another monster, a purple mushroom with yellow eyes. The purple creature gets close and asks why he's been saying so many weird things today. Completely let down and at a loss for words, he thinks his brain is being taken over by some other kind of mushroom. He asks what they normally say, and the other mushroom breaks it down for him. The purple mushroom shouts that they always scream, "Intruders, we're gonna take you all down," and then let out a battle cry. Our guy is totally lost by that explanation. But suddenly, other mushrooms start screaming, "Invaders!" And then, a giant foot slams hard against the cavern floor, revealing a massive orc with red eyes. Right after, an orc duo shows up, a warrior and an archer. Labu, the archer, questions whether it's safe, but Kabu, the warrior, reassures her that the dungeon monsters are weak and predictable. Suddenly, a level 1 mushroom identified as Little Shroom charges at the orc, screaming it's gonna take him down. Without any effort, the orc wipes the floor with the little guy in one hit. Kaba then looks at his partner and says he told her it'd be easy, and she agrees, calling it a speedrun day. Right after, a whole horde of mushrooms charges straight at them, screaming they're gonna take everyone down. But the orc duo starts picking off the mushroom monsters one by one. Our little guy and the other mushroom just watch the fight go down. He asks why they keep charging like crazy even though the enemies are clearly way stronger. The purple mushroom explains they're all NPCs. Their actions are pre-programmed with none of the freedom that players have. Our guy's surprised to find out the orcs are players since he always thought players were human. The other mushroom just says it's only an NPC with a few extra lives, different from the rest. But then, something flies right between them, nearly taking them both out. In the same instant, he looks down and catches the silhouette of the orc archer getting into position. Labu aims her bow directly at him. Seeing that, he screams at his buddy to run. He turns and starts running but gets confused when he's not being followed. The purple mushroom stays put, even after being shot at, completely still. Our guy yells at him, asking why he's not moving and telling him to run. The little purple monster replies that escaping isn't in their programming, ignoring the NPC logic. Our boy reaches out his arm and yells for him to grab his hand. He grabs his buddy's arm, though right at that moment, the whole scene starts glitching and breaking apart. Multiple warning and data error messages pop up everywhere. Our little guy keeps pulling hard, yelling that he doesn't care about programming or error messages, being dragged along and flickering like a glitch. The purple mushroom calls out to him. Finally pulling him free, he runs, saying survival is the priority. The orcs watch the escape. Kabu wonders if mushrooms can even flee, and Labu concludes it must be a bug to report to the admins later. Labu says bug or not, they can't let the mushrooms get away, and Kabu agrees, telling her not to go down while he reports it. Hiding out, our guy asks if there are any weapons nearby, but his friend says mushrooms are programmed to be unarmed. Our boy's eye goes wide the moment he spots something. He asks what's inside the giant treasure chest right in front of them. Excited, he figures they might find a weapon, but the purple mushroom explains those chests are for players only. The little monster keeps going, saying mushrooms can't interact with chests at all. But ignoring the warning, our guy walks up and tries to force it open, causing a flood of error and warning messages to appear again. He puts everything into it and forces the lid open. The purple mushroom is stunned, thinking the old brother Xingbao would never pull something like this, wondering why he's acting so different all of a sudden. The little monster is blown away by how much good stuff is packed inside. Out of nowhere, an arrow is fired straight at him. By reflex, the purple mushroom tries to shield our guy and throws himself right in front of it. Our guy's face gets splattered with his buddy's purple blood. He watches his friend take the hit and drop to the ground, sacrificing himself to protect him. No time to breathe. Another one is already flying straight at him. Just as it was about to connect, the arrow ricochets off. Up above, the orc archer watches the scene and can't believe what just happened. She's shocked, demanding to know how a low-level mushroom mob just blocked her arrow. The deflected arrow ends up lodged straight into the wall. The archer also notices that our guy just opened a treasure chest only players are supposed to be able to access. Taken aback, she concludes the system bug here is way bigger than she thought. Near a purple portal, Orc Kabu reports all the bugs he found and a hooded figure responds that it's noted. Kabu then complains, questioning how dungeons can still have bugs after running for this long. The mysterious figure explains that's exactly why. The longer they've been active, the more maintenance ends up missing small glitches. The hooded figure, who turns out to be one of the admins, explains that after defeating the Human Alliance, the Lich King feared the warriors would grow bored and cause trouble. So he built the dungeon to keep them busy farming and leveling up, and when players find a bug, they usually report it to the admins. Back inside, the orcher decides she's not waiting around and will fix the bug herself, already getting her bow ready. She fires an arrow with massive force, aiming directly at the target. The projectile flies at high speed straight toward our guy, but our boy with a quick move uses a sword to block the incoming arrow. He figures that with moves that clean, the base stats of this mushroom body aren't too bad at all. Irritated, the orc responds by firing a full burst of arrows all at once. Our guy defends himself with the sword, deflecting every single shot. He notices that with his short legs, pushing forward under constant fire isn't going to be easy, so he starts looking for something to use as a shield. Quick, he cuts off the lid of the chest. Right after, he snatches up the lid from the giant treasure chest, and with a big push, blocks the incoming arrows. Labu is stunned, asking how a mushroom even knows to use a chest lid as a shield, and realizes the behavior looks exactly like a player's. Meanwhile, our boy advances with the makeshift shield, protecting himself from the arrows flying his way. The projectiles slam hard against a chest lid, but he keeps moving forward. Our guy then leaps straight at the orc, and with one clean strike, takes the player down. The hit lands hard, sending a splash in every direction. Right after, the orc's body hits the ground while our guy stands watching nearby. A system screen pops up, congratulating him on his first takedown and unlocking racial talents, including a communication network, the ability to plant himself to absorb nutrients and gain skills, and a shapeshift ability. He wonders if he actually has a system now, but figures that after already becoming a talking mushroom, nothing's really that shocking anymore. Curious to test his new abilities, he goes ahead and tries mushroom planting. He starts absorbing the nutrients and data from the enemy's remains. Veins of energy begin spreading across his leg during the absorption process. Our boy says the feeling is pretty overwhelming. Suddenly, an idea hits him. He looks over and spots his fallen friend lying in the distance. Our guy places the mushroom on top of the orc and says since his buddy took a hit for him, now it's his turn to return the favor. So he activates mushroom planting, stretching his hand out over his friend's body. A massive burst of energy erupts. The energy starts pulling together, forming what looks like a glowing seed. Then that energy rises from the mushroom's body, shaping itself into a new humanoid form. The figure fully materializes, a feminine silhouette wrapped in energy and red particles. As the light fades, our guy finds himself face to face with the outline of a woman standing right in front of him. Being the goofball he is, the moment he sees her, he completely freaks out, sending a nosebleed flying everywhere. The woman who appeared is a pointed-eared archer. A system window pops up showing her stats as a level 2 mushroom archer, detailing her abilities, including the absorbed racial talent, Orc Fury. The new archer kneels before our hero, calls him king, and asks him to give her a name. Another system message appears, letting him know he's cultivated his first subordinate and needs to name her. Our boy thinks for a second, realizing that mushroom people don't come with names by default. Suddenly, his eye goes wide, like he just had a genius idea, and then he points and declares, from this moment on, she will be called Seifeng. The archer accepts the name Seifeng and immediately asks which dungeon they're hitting first. He stops her right there, reminding her that they're monsters and NPCs, not players. Wearing the face of a total schemer, he says that being the case, they should follow their programming and go after the remaining player. Meanwhile, on the other side of the cavern, a skeleton is lying on the ground. The orc steps right over it like it's nothing. He can't believe Labu got taken down by the weakest, most useless mob in the game. A normal level 1 mushroom should never be able to do that. The warrior looks into the distance, spots our guy, and concludes he must be a rare elite. pumped up. He thinks the trip was worth it. Rarely it's always drop good loot, and if he gets lucky with a blue item, he's set. So the orc activates orc charge and rushes toward our little guy at full speed. Completely still, our guy grips his blade and braces for impact. He dodges at just the right moment, and the orc slams full force into the wall. And even so, our guy still managed to land a hit on him. But he notices this warrior is way tankier than the archer. A full power strike barely did anything. The orc, not looking happy at all, roars that the little pest actually managed to hurt him. And without missing a beat, our little guy bolts out of there, slamming the cavern door shut behind him. The scene shifts to a wooden bridge crossing a river, leading to a cavern entrance. Without wasting a second, the orc warrior smashes through the door, arriving right where our little guy is waiting. On the other side, our guy just stands there, mist swirling around him, staring the orc down like it's nothing. The orc finds it strange he's just standing there, suspects it might be a trap, but then shrugs it off, reminding himself it's just an NPC. And after soaking up a bit of attitude, our guy hits him with his tactic, the middle finger. The warrior completely loses it and roars, demanding to know how he dares mock him, screaming he's going to turn him into mushroom paste. As he charges across the bridge, it starts making strange sounds. Small cracks have already formed in the support pillars holding it up. Completely consumed by rage, the orc warrior didn't even notice the trap and charges straight at our guy, but the ground gives out right beneath him. The orc is stunned, watching the entire bridge collapse, and then he plunges straight into the water. The orc screams furiously, accusing the little mushroom of tricking him, which, to be fair, was pretty obvious since he suspected a trap from the start. Our guy notices that in the panic, the enemy even dropped his weapon and is now stuck with limited movement in the water. So he hurls his blade toward the orc warrior. The mushroom lands the hit, but the orc laughs it off, saying that even unarmed and restricted, that pathetic strength couldn't do any real damage. But then, and this is where it gets crazy, a massive arrow flies straight through, catching him completely off guard. Out of nowhere, an arrow rips through the water at blistering speed, heading straight for the orc warrior. He looks in the direction it came from, but can't make out who's attacking him, and before he can figure anything out, an arrow drives into his head, dropping him on the spot. No way to react. The warrior's hand slowly sinks beneath the water as he goes down. On the bank, Seifung holds her firing stance while a system message announces that the orc fury effect is ended. The water darkens as the enemy falls, and another window confirms the orc warrior has been eliminated. Our guy walks up to the body and says, finally, it's his turn to make a move. He plants his foot on the orc's remains and activates his ability, releasing a red energy. A system screen appears saying he's reshaping his outer form. The transformation happens inside a cloud of smoke and particles. When the dust clears, our boy emerges in human form, celebrating that he finally sculpted his face back. But Seifung gets curious and points at him, asking what exactly is that swinging around below him. Startled, our guy quickly checks and notices something large and thick hanging below his waist. But then he relaxes and explains it's just the axe handle. Relieved, saying for a second he thought he forgot to put clothes on, though it remains a mystery where the rest of the axe was being stored. A system window shows his new stats. Now, Mushroom Leader Leave 2, Class Warrior, with the Orc Fury talent boosting his damage by 30%. His mushroom planting ability also evolves, now letting him create 2 mushroom soldiers from bodies who share experience with him. On top of that, he scored 2 magic pouches as loot, capable of temporarily holding a small number of items. He asks how they're going to get out of here, and Seifung explains that since they're on the lowest floor of the dungeon, they'll have to fight their way up. He then questions how those level 1 orc players managed to drop straight into this place. She replies that players have special permissions and can choose to teleport directly to the lowest floor. Our guy gets curious about how she knows all this, and she explains she picked it up listening to other players back when she was still an NPC. He makes up his mind and says they're going to fight their way up 1 floor at a time. With that, the 2 of them start making their way through the rocky cavern terrain. They reach a fork in the road, and Seifung explains that the left path leads to the level 1 slime floor, and the right leads to the graveyard. So he tells Seifung to go farm experience on the slime floor while he heads over to check out the graveyard. She finds the idea odd, but with his red eyes glowing, our little guy warns her that this place is about to become their territory. Our guy walks alone through the cavern tunnels. He picks up the scent in the air and comments that, as expected from a graveyard, you can smell it from far away. Looking at the smoke rising from cracks in the ceiling, he concludes that waste and remains must be getting dumped down from above. our guy comes across a vast area filled with bones, remains, and all kinds of discarded junk. Even though all of it was dumped there long ago, he notices there are still nutrients left that can be put to use. Digging through the area, he finds a mix of gunpowder and humus inside a barrel. Shortly after, he also finds a mix of pitch and humus, equally useful. And finally, he locates a badly torn spellbook mixed in with more organic matter. Our boy then remembers that besides Seifeng, he can still create one more mushroom soldier. So he channels his power into one of the explosive materials he found, wrapping it in a pulsing red energy. The object starts to transform, covered by a kind of mass that reshapes it entirely. When the process ends, a new mushroom soldier emerges, with a crown of flames on its head. The system window describes it as a level 2 explosive mushroom, with fire abilities and a 50% movement speed boost. Our little guy looks over his creation and says it's not bad, solid presence, just a bit short. Then he notices 2 blue glowing dots shining in the darkness of the cavern ahead. Immediately, our guy goes on high alert. He leaps out of the way, barely dodging the bolt of lightning. After the strike, he lands while a snail on the ground lets off a blue glow. The creature reveals itself, a level 2 thunder snail guardian of the graveyard, emerging covered in electricity. Our guy realizes the monster also feeds on humus, making it a direct competitor, and tells his new explosive mushroom to show what it's got. A little soldier charges up its ability, Flame Burst Shot, and launches a concentrated fireball. The projectile flies straight at the snail, which reacts by firing up its electric aura to shield itself. Fire and electricity collide, creating a flash that lights up the entire cavern. The collision triggers a massive explosion, kicking up rubble and thick smoke throughout the area. From the impact, our guy thinks the thunder snail is done for, but the snail doesn't seem phased at all, and keeps advancing slowly, still crackling with energy. Then the monster charges up a powerful electric strike. Fast, the fire mushroom activates Lone Flame's sprint and rockets forward at blistering speed. Our boy spots the enemy's sluggishness and realizes that's the weakness they need to exploit. The little fire soldier starts circling the snail, hitting its flanks and using its agility to throw it off. Catching an opening, the mushroom flies over the monster and lines up another point-blank fireball. The fireball hits the creature's shell dead-on, triggering a devastating explosion. When the dust finally settles, the giant snail's shell appears completely cracked and smoking. From the top of a boulder, our guy watches his mushroom soldier wave happily and celebrate the win. So he tells the little ally to stop celebrating and go confirm the enemy is actually down. But out of nowhere, the little soldier gets hit by a blue energy blast, taken down hard by an electric attack that came straight from the monster's body. From the ruins of the shell, the creature's true form emerges, a blue slug covered in lightning and way faster than before. Our boy immediately leaps off the cliff to face the new threat head-on. He tries to attack, but the slug dodges with ease, making him whiff completely. The monster blurs past him like a blue streak, and our little guy is caught off guard by the speed. The creature starts circling at high speed, surrounding him with trails of electricity while he desperately swings at it. The monster mocks our little guy, saying he's slower than a snail, but he figures it out. By ditching the shell, the slug became fast as lightning. The electric monster scales the cavern walls, leaving a trail of energy wherever it goes. Our guy watches the enemy's agility and mutters that losing the shell on your back really does make you lighter. Turned into a streak of light, the creature launches another charge, ready for its next move. Our guy braces himself for the fast enemy's next attack. Then, a massive fire explosion goes off right behind it. The blast goes straight for the slug. The fireball collides with the electricity, so he gets ready to move. She dodges every shot with her speed, taunting that they can't touch her. Meanwhile, our guy watches the whole thing from a distance. The creature keeps mocking them and points out that their speed isn't even close to hers. But our boy just smirks and says he didn't miss, because he was never aiming at her. And just like that, the cavern ceiling starts crumbling, chunks of rock raining down everywhere. The electric slug looks up and realizes the target was the ceiling all alone to bring it down. Even with the debris falling, the creature brags that none of it is going to hit her. Then our guy activates Orc Fury and Orc Charge, surging forward wrapped in a red aura. The creature keeps staring upward, distracted by the dust and falling rubble. She wonders if he's using the thick smoke as cover, while bragging she could dodge it with her eyes closed. But before she can react, our boy lands a full-force strike right on her. Completely caught off guard, the creature realizes he hit his second ambush inside the first one. The impact blows a crater into the wall, sending dust and debris flying all across the cavern. When the smoke clears, our guy stares at the wall, where nothing remains of the electric creature but a purple stain. A system screen confirms the thunder snail has been eliminated, and our guy places his hand over the remains to cultivate spores from the nutrients. Energy wraps around him as he absorbs the power and levels up. Another window notifies him that both he and Seifeng have reached level 3, and he's learned the new ability Spirit Mushroom, which strengthens his soldiers. Right after, a blue electric glow starts rising from the monster's remains, taking shape into a new creature. The system announces that he's created an electric mushroom, a super fast soldier that converts nutrients into energy to attack. And then the new soldier appears, a level 3 electric mushroom sparking with blue lightning. Beside it, the level 2 explosive mushroom also manifests, burning with its fire aura. Satisfied, our boy looks at his 2 creations and announces that this place is going to be the mushroom people's main base. Right after, he thinks about Seifeng, wondering if she ran into a tough enemy, since he hasn't gotten any experience notifications from her in a while. The scene cuts to her, standing on a raised area surrounded by a bunch of slimes she's already taken down with her arrows. But out of nowhere, something massive shows up, asking if she's been using its underlings for target practice. Standing in front of her is the level 2 Slime King, a giant, gooey creature with a single red eye. The monster gets right in Seifeng's face and asks why it feels like it's seen her somewhere before. Without even waiting, Seifeng fires an arrow that hits the Slime King dead in the eye. Irritated, the monster roars that she didn't let it finish talking and blasts a jet of green slime right at her. But she's quick. She leaps over the attack and lines up another shot while the Slime King watches. She fires several arrows at once, piercing the monster's body in multiple spots. But the Slime King says it doesn't matter how many holes she pokes in it, that won't work, and follows up with a punch that connects, sending her flying. The creature brags, explaining that its body is elastic and attacks at most cause it to lose a little fluid. And it adds that as long as it can draw water from underground, all physical attacks are useless. Then the giant monster looks down at Seifeng and roars for her to go down. The Slime King shapes one of its arms into a massive fist, ready to crush her. Just as the blow was about to land, its arm explodes on the spot, beginning to disintegrate completely. Then it notices mushrooms growing all over its body and demands to know when they got there. The Slime King is covered in small mushrooms and they're consuming it from the inside. Desperate, and realizes it's going down. As it falls apart, it demands to know when those mushrooms managed to parasitize its body. Then it remembers the arrow and concludes, stunned, that she had parasite spores loaded in it from the very beginning. Before being completely defeated, the creature seems to recognize Seifeng, calling her Purple Cat Mushroom. With the monster gone, a black minotaur horn drops to the ground. A system window explains the item is extremely durable and can be used to craft weapons. Seifeng stores the horn and uses her ability to absorb nutrients from the fallen slimes, gaining a huge chunk of experience. At the same time, both she and our guy light up with evolution energy, leveling up together. The system announces both have reached level 4, Seifeng unlocking mycelium magic arrows, and our guy gaining the ability to create spy mushrooms. Back at the graveyard, Seifeng watches the mushrooms cleaning up the area. She says she was planning to wrap up and go help, but is surprised the new soldiers already cleaned up nearly everything, and our hero tells her it's all good. Our little guy examines the horn and praises the material quality, but laments they don't have a craftsman to forge a weapon. Seifeng suggests they capture one, but our boy has a better idea, saying it's the perfect time to use his new ability. He explains he's going to use his power to scan for any players or bodies with crafting abilities nearby, and then he activates his new skill, spreading a vast glowing mycelium network across the entire cavern floor. Small spy mushrooms start sprouting up through the cracks in the cavern, all connected to the mycelium network. To one of the mushrooms, our guy picks up on a fight happening nearby. The vision reveals a group of creatures chasing down a blacksmith, demanding he surrender to forge weapons for them. But the man refuses to go back to being a slave, shouting that his entire tribe worked for them until they were completely worn out. Then the group's leader charges at him, screaming that if that's the case, he can go down right here. The spear drives into the blacksmith's chest, taking him down. Nearby, one of our guy's spy mushrooms watches the scene up close. Our hero turns to Seifeng and says, with regret, that they got there too late. She asks what's going on since she can't see anything, and our boy explains she needs to connect to the mycelium network to see. So Seifeng connects and says it worked. She can see everything through the mushrooms too. Our little guy says they can't save the living anymore, but they can save the fallen, because it's just a different way of living. Then a system message announces that soul data is being transplanted through the network. While his 2 mushroom soldiers were in the middle of some kind of argument over something, the explosive mushroom is transferred into the blacksmith's body and begins the resurrection process. A massive burst of pink light engulfs the body, triggering a powerful transformation. When the dust settles, the blacksmith reemerges as a new mushroom soldier, a stocky, flame-wrapped dwarf. A system window describes him as a level 4 explosive mushroom dwarf artisan, with a fire attribute and the special ability to summon a fire hammer. The new soldier is confused about his new form and asks what he is. Our guy explains he brought him back as one of his soldiers and names him Firehammer. Firehammer says he still wants one thing, but our boy cuts him off, revealing he already knows everything since his spy mushrooms have been tracking the trolls the whole time. The scene cuts to the trolls where one of them asks the boss if they'll have to do the heavy lifting themselves if all the dwarf slaves work themselves to exhaustion. The troll boss yells at his underling, calling him an idiot, while one of our guy's spy mushrooms watches the scene up close. The leader explains it's no problem as the dwarves go down, they can just grab more from the dungeon, and the other agrees there are always some left around. Suddenly, the boss notices something and his eye goes wide in surprise. He spots Firehammer and wonders what the mushroom people are doing there, since their nest is in a completely different area. Then the troll concludes it must just be an elite monster that got lost and wandered into the wrong place. Seeing it as an unexpected bonus, he gets excited and charges in, thinking it's his lucky day. The blue monster hurls his spear at full force toward Firehammer, but the fire dwarf simply summons his giant hammer and bats the spear away. With a powerful swing, he launches the hammer, flying like a fireball straight at the enemy. The troll manages to dodge at the very last second. Shaken, he looks at the hammer buried in the ground and admits that was way too close. The giant weapon just sits there, glowing with runes and wrapped in flames. The troll leader starts sweating, realizing he's gotten himself into some serious trouble. To his horror, the flaming hammer flies straight back at him, and he takes the full hit. The troll leader panics, demanding to know how a hammer can have auto-tracking, and how a level 3 elite monster has such an advanced weapon. While he's distracted, the flaming hammer pivots and flies toward the other troll. That troll is frozen in fear, but just barely manages to deflect it, sending it flying up toward the top of the cavern. The flaming weapon ends up completely stuck in some kind of giant pillar formation. Without wasting a second, Firehammer is already on the move toward the troll, launching himself at him with everything he's got. The troll tries to fight back, but Firehammer activates Mycelium Bind, completely locking down the enemy's arm. And right after, he triggers Mycelium Ignite, making the spores detonate the arm, while striking the troll at the same time. He lands a flaming punch that burns and drops the troll on the spot. Trying to take advantage of the opening, the troll boss gets right up in Firehammer's face, nearly landing a hit with his club. But in one quick move, he sidesteps and fires back with a right hook at the leader, sending the troll boss flying. Right after, Firehammer yanks his hammer back from one of the fang-shaped pillars it was lodged in. The troll leader catches on and roars, realizing he's trying to cause a cave-in. He dodges and brags that even after taking some hits, he can still get out of the way of that kind of move. But Firehammer activates Firehammer Ignite, making his hammer blaze up intensely. The weapon gets wrapped in a blazing inferno. Then the fire dwarf launches Flying Hammer Firestorm, creating a massive explosion right in the troll's face. Beaten down and cornered, the troll sub-boss realizes there's no way out of this. Multiple fire explosions go off at once, leveling everything around them. A system notification announces the troll player has been eliminated as the body hits the ground. With the battle won, Firehammer stands tall, savoring the victory. A system window informs that Artisan Firehammer has reached level 5 and unlocked the Recycling Hammer, a tool that also doubles as a weapon. Another notification announces that our guy, Cheng Ong, has also hit level 5 and unlocked the Farm Mushroom, a new unit that serves as a work tool. And the final window reveals that Sai Feng Chin Feng has reached level 5 and gained Mycelium Step, an ability that lets her teleport to any arrow she fires. Finally, our little guy compliments Firehammer on the great work and says he's going to send over coordinates so they can meet up. Firehammer is surprised to find out his boss is human, admitting he always had a different impression of them. Our boy explains that a mushroom person's reshaped form is influenced by the race they were in their past life. That's why he and Sai Feng look human, and by the same logic, the dwarf's result will be similar. Then our guy gets back on track and asks if Firehammer can use a horn he's holding to forge some weapons for them. The artisan examines the item and says the horn is great material, but he still needs other components that don't seem to be around. Our little guy looks up and assures him that this is a massive graveyard, and the materials they need will be showing up any moment. And right on cue, things start falling from the cavern ceiling. A rain of items. Among the wreckage, the system identifies a discarded Maggiarine bracelet mixed in with monster remains. Using his recycling hammer, Firehammer breaks through the debris and rocks to extract the needed materials. He digs out a Magrian ore, one of the key components for the forge. Meanwhile, a level 5 forge mushroom is already going full speed, melting down the metal. Back at the forge, Firehammer uses his smithing hammer to shape the new weapons with the gathered materials. After a while, the dwarf walks over and lets our guy know the weapons are ready, and he also took the time to craft some pants and boots. Our boy picks up his new blade and is impressed, commenting it's way better than the ore cleaver he was using. A system window describes the weapon. It can channel the user's magic to cast spells, but the metal may take damage with heavy use. Seifeng also receives her new weapon, a sleek hunter's bow that matches her style perfectly. The system description notes the bow uses mycelium as the string and can channel spells through arrows, but may also take damage from powerful enchantments. Firehammer adds that he stitched magic pouches into the lining of their clothes, making it easier to draw their weapons. Seifeng asks where they're headed next, and he replies with a grin that they're going to clear the entire floor. He explains he spent days mapping the place through the mycelium network and found out they're inside a massive graveyard, and the only way up is clearing floor by floor. She asks why Firehammer isn't coming along, and our guy says someone has to protect the base, and the dwarf will level up either way through the shared experience network. And with that, the two of them head out on the mission. Our guy jumps back when the ground shakes violently and a wall starts rising from the floor. In seconds, a massive stone barrier rises up, cutting him and Seifeng off from each other. Standing in front of the sealed wall, he realizes there was a hidden magic mechanism his spy mushrooms never picked up. Confident, he touches the rock and says a wall this thick only needs one good punch to come down. So our boy taps in a Firehammer's shared power, wrapping his fist in flame mycelium to create explosive strikes. He throws a full-force fire punch at the wall, triggering a massive explosion. The impact sends him flying back. Out of nowhere, a magic protection circle appears at the point of impact, revealing the wall is reinforced. Our little guy accepts he's not breaking through the wall right now and decides they'll have to split up and take different routes. He turns around, coming to terms with the force split. He then realizes he's entered a new area, the secret kingdom of the Slippery Gallery. The corridor ahead is dark, with dozens of glowing eyes watching him from the shadows. Eyes focused, our hero stays sharp and ready for whatever comes. He looks down and discovers he's standing in the level 3 thunder snail nest. One of the giant snails recognizes him and screams, accusing our guy of taking down its brother in the great graveyard. The snail leader charges up electricity in its antennae and commands the rest of the swarm to attack our hero. Our guy faces the wall of lightning and comments that it's electric-type enemies again. Then a massive electric explosion goes off right in front of him, blanketing everything in blue light. One of the snails cheers that they finished him off. But suddenly, right as the monster's about to strike, she feels a strange agitation with say. Our little guy moves at a wild speed, wrapped in red lightning, taking out multiple snails at the same time. Stunned by the speed, one of them calls for everyone to drop their shells and go faster. The creatures shed into electric slug form, and one brags it's about to show just how terrifying the Shellless clan really is. Suddenly, one of the slugs picks up a strange pink entity and asks, alarmed, if that's mycelium. Our hero uses his sword to control strands of mycelium flowing out from the blade. With a dead serious look, he gets ready to unleash mycelium detonation. And then, fire explosions erupt from every strand, blowing all the monsters away at once. A system window shows his experience bar shooting up non-stop from the mass takedown. The glow from the explosion is so intense it bleeds right through the door, causing it to blow apart right after. Our boy mutters that he went a little overboard with those guys, but he finds it strange the place is completely empty and wonders why. A figure with a glowing red eye watches him from the cavern ceiling, but our little guy catches it through a puddle's reflection on the ground. The creature then drops toward him at high speed. A giant snail shell crashes into the ground with a massive impact, shattering everything around it. Our guy manages to dodge just in time. The shell starts spinning across the ground like a runaway tire, kicking up dust and rocks. He uses his new sword to block the spinning attack, and the friction between the metal and the shell sends sparks flying everywhere. The shell starts pushing our guy back, so he leaps upward. and fires off his strand ability, which latches onto the enemy's shell. Then he activates 10 Vein Thunder Pull, and bolts of red energy are ripped straight out of the shell. A massive explosion tears through the entire area. The force of the impact is so powerful it sends our boy flying back. Through the dust, a humanoid figure steps out, the level 5 Snail King, dressed in full armor and gripping a katana. Our boy faces the new boss with one eye glowing red and says, pumped up, that there's a second phase. Now the fight's actually getting fun. In another corner of the cavern, an arrowhead traces shapes in the dirt. It's Feng drawing herself and her master on the ground. She reflects that, since the split, she hasn't run into a single monster, but she's still receiving shared experience, and she figures our guy must be in the middle of a fierce boss fight, so she really wants to help. Right then, the clash of steel echoes through the battle arena. Our hero and the Snail King lock into an intense duel, blades crossing at high speed. Our boy blocks a heavy strike from the monster. Then he seizes the opening to land a spinning slash with his blade. The attack nearly connects dead on. In an instant, the boss starts pulling back. Then it cracks its shell open and spews out a strange liquid. A torrent of water pours out from it. The jet floods the area, splashing the liquid in every direction. Our guy uses his strands to hold himself up on the ceiling. The slippery substance spreads fast across every corner of the cavern. Our boy jumps up, getting away from the forming puddle below. Studying the liquid, he figures he has no idea what it does, but dodging first is always the right call. Suddenly, the mycelium strands that were holding onto the ceiling start coming loose out of nowhere. Our little guy falls. Either way, he already made contact with the liquid, and just like that, a dark blur shoots past him. He tries to plant himself and block the attack, but he loses his footing and gets thrown back with almost no resistance. Our guy realizes the water is so slippery he can't even stay on his feet, and it clicks. That's exactly why the mycelium slipped off the slime-covered ceiling. The Snail King rises from the water, bragging that this is his territory and our guy doesn't stand a chance. The boss launches a spinning attack and our guy tries to counter but gets intercepted mid-air. The Snail King shifts back into spin form, coming straight at our little guy. The impact is so powerful it carves out a hole on impact. Completely pinned down, the Snail King taunts him. Since our guy uses mycelium, he must be a mushroom man, and asks if he really thinks he can compete with the Snail Clan. While the boss talks, our little guy's hand starts filling up with energy. A pink energy begins radiating from our guy's body, catching the Snail King off guard. Then our boy releases a burst of mycelium bolts that spread all through the water. The pink bolts ripple rapidly through every bit of liquid covering the battle arena, reaching right toward the Snail King. With a little blood running from his mouth, our guy locks eyes with his opponent. The Snail King scoffs, asking if our hero thinks he'd fall for the same trick again, since he can just ramp up the water's resistance to weaken the shocks. Eyes lit up, our boy fires back that the boss really knows his water. But as the saying goes, dodging well isn't as good as being in the right place. Suddenly, the Snail King looks down, alarmed. He realizes the lake floor is completely blanketed by pink mycelium, forming a kind of net. The boss panics when it hits him that he backed straight into a trap, demanding to know when the mycelium got there. But he pulls himself together, saying it doesn't matter, he can still adjust the water's resistance to weaken the lightning. Wrapped in an aura, our guy says he's stubborn enough to try again. The Snail King realizes he's not backing down, but before he can react, what he sees next stops him cold. A massive spinning fire tornado erupts from the water, completely engulfing the boss. The force of the attack is strong enough to tear through part of the cavern wall. Our boy walks up calmly as a trail of smoke rises behind him. The Snail King starts to break apart, with no idea how the attack suddenly turned into fire. With his last words, the monster complains that's not how the game is supposed to be played, before turning to dust. Our hero stands still, wrapped in a pink power radiating from his body. A system notification lets him know he and his soldiers have reached level 6. With a level up, they can now generate portable mycelium packs to store defeated enemies inside themselves. The team leader also becomes a download gateway for the network. On top of that, he can now command thunder zombies, shock troops that generate mycelium weapons and cast spells. Another new ability is Thunder Tracker, which builds up energy to release a devastating area lightning strike. And finally, he unlocks Borrowed Troops, letting him craft hammer bombs and hurl them at his own soldiers to scatter shrapnel. Right after the system announces that the isolation barrier field has finally been lifted. Looking at a pile of rocks, our little guy picks up a humus scent he's never encountered before, calls Firehammer over to check it out. The rocks start shaking and breaking apart like something is trying to push through from inside. Firehammer bursts out from the rubble, his mushroom body and muscular arms on full display. Once the stones are cleared away, a massive pile of gleaming black ore is revealed. Our little guy asks what that black stuff is, and Firehammer explains it's rotten black stone, the result of magical waste and humus fusing together over many years. Our boy concludes that must mean it's completely worthless. Firehammer agrees, saying trash plus trash is still trash and no sane alchemist or blacksmith would give it a second look. But he adds that was before he became a mushroom man, because now, for him, this stuff is a treasure. He explains the nearly impossible to extract magic residue is the real prize, and starts an extraction using mycelium. Hand glowing red, he crushes the stone and says, extracting this is child's play for him. A system notification confirms the residue extraction is complete. From the process, a gleaming arcane silver fragment is created. Firehammer says with some luck, they might refine it all the way up to epic grade mana fragments, worth a lot among players, and our guy gets excited. Pulling out a magnifying glass from who knows where, he takes a look and comments it seems a bit too small to do anything with. So Firehammer points at the ore pile, saying he can dig even deeper, and our guy agrees, handing him the whole cavern. Right then, the mushroom releases a massive wave of red mycelium energy to process the entire pile of stones. A little while later, the process keeps going at full force. Multiple notifications pop up showing Firehammer acquiring various arcane fragments one after another. Watching the cavern shake, our guy yells for him to dig as much as he wants. Just don't bring everything down. But Firehammer says it's not his fault. Then the ground shakes violently, and a giant black worm bursts out of the earth, opening a massive mouth lined with glowing blue crystal tea. A small mushroom soldier charges at the threat with full ferocity, screaming it's going to take it down, but he suddenly stopped midair. Our guy grabs him by the head and says it's not his turn to fight yet, telling him to stay back and help Firehammer. Then he calls for Seifeng to move out, and she confirms, letting him know the new soldiers are already synced to the network and can be called up anytime. Suddenly, a mushroom scout shows up and reports that the enemy is almost breaking through the cavern ceiling. The alert about the rotten stone cavern is repeated by the little creature. Our boy then orders that the creature cannot be allowed inside. The fight needs to be taken to the corridor. The scout agrees as a hole starts getting punched through the cavern ceiling. The mushroom fidgets on the ground, screaming, "Abba, Abba," and the giant worm keeps getting closer. It carves a massive trail of destruction through the cavern. Our little guy asks what kind of creature that even is, and Firehammer explains it's likely a black carrion worm, a creature obsessed with humus and tougher than the snails. The blacksmith promises to make the fight easier once he wraps up his inventory, holding up a hammer. Right then, Seifeng leaps in and strikes the approaching creature with a blade. The weapon lands a direct hit on the monster's head. With her frustration meter maxed out, Seifeng fires off a double spinning attack against the creature. The strike slices right into the monster, but the creature's shell barely lets off a little smoke. Seifeng is stunned by the enemy's tough hide, noticing the boss's blade even chipped on impact. Suddenly, a small mushroom on her shoulder says, Firehammer has new gear ready for her. She just needs to download it through the mycelium network. The little mushroom then begins connecting to the network to start the transfer. An interface appears on her back showing the download starting at 6%. As the monster closes in, the process rushes forward, hitting 86%. The giant creature advances with its mouth wide open, ready to swallow her whole. But the download finishes just in time, and a notification announces she's received the limit break arcane arrows. Seifeng then draws her bow and an arrow of pure pink energy materializes, aimed directly into the monster's open mouth. She gets ready to fire her new attack, the limit break explosive arrow. The energy projectile launches, flying like a bolt, straight at the target. The arrow hits the creature dead on. After firing, she lands on the ground and steps back from the impact zone. Inside the monster, the arrow activates, and several mushrooms begin pulsing with pink energy. Then, a blinding white and pink explosion swallows everything. The creature comes charging at her, full of fury. But before it reaches her, the monster's head explodes. Right after, the body disintegrates, and a system notification confirms it's been eliminated and the experience has been earned. But the mushroom scout warns her not to relax yet, because more are coming, and the archer is caught off guard. The lookout points into the darkness, explaining that a scout in the distance has already spotted another black worm on its way. Seeing that Seifeng is running low on energy, he tells her to use the monster's remains to recover, and says the new soldiers will hold the front line. Right then, a pink lightning-shaped energy concentrates on the ground. A level 6 explosive mushroom guard is charged up and emerges ready for battle, gripping a spear. Seifeng is surprised she only managed to summon 2, and the scout explains the maximum unit capacity is 6N, and they're already at the limit. She does the math and realizes adding him would push them over the limit, but the scout clarifies he doesn't take up a slot since he's an unofficial part of the mycelium network. Right at that moment, another giant creature smashes through the wall and invades the cavern, and without thinking twice, it attacks immediately. The scout then wonders why this one's jaw is clamped so tight and questions if it's scared she'll blow its mouth up too. One of the mushroom guards charges at the enemy at high speed. He swings his blade, leaving a trail of fire along the ground before hitting the worm. The impact kicks up a cloud of red energy smoke. The shockwave expands, lifting both dust and the creature into the air. Meanwhile, the other soldier moves in to strike as well. He then drives his blade full force into the blackworm's head. The monster is sent flying back from the impact. The creature hits the ground and stays still, while one of the guards stands by. Seifeng is impressed, commenting that this new soldier must be a strength type, since he launched the worm with a single hit. The 2 new guards then advance together to finish off the enemy. One of them leaps up and lands a powerful kick straight to the creature's head. The other takes the opening and drives his spear into the monster's mouth, forcing it wide open. The soldier gets into position and leaps onto the worm, seizing the opening to hurl his fire sword straight inside the creature. Right after the sword detonates, creating a massive fireball that completely destroys the monster's head. A system notification announces the mushroom people have reached level 7, and Yan Go has gained the exclusive leader ability Lone King, boosting his stats by 10% for each absent ally, up to a maximum of 100%. Then the system informs he can now cultivate the Archer Mushroom, a long-range unit that also uses short blades, fires arrows with different attributes, and can glide. And when near the main character, it grants a 10% bonus to all stats. And finally, he can also create the Shield Piercer Mushroom, a worker-type unit that absorbed the worm's excavation ability. And when near Firehammer, it boosts work efficiency by 10%. Questioning what could really be behind such an advanced performance. Spotting the connection, she realizes the leader manipulates everyone through the mycelial network. Traces of energy glow across the cave floor, lighting the path ahead. Mastering those mushrooms is basically just like playing a game. Giving a clear order, he tells them to sweep the area for rare loot. Beams of pure energy drain the remains of the defeated creatures into the ground. Pulsing with intensity, a massive organic energy bubbles up from the soil. Absorbing the remnants, he gains skin that's both durable and flexible. Inspecting the intact teeth, she plans on taking them to the blacksmith for gear. Advancing through the dark, she creeps forward, alert for any danger. Deep cracks split the floor, carving a massive crater into the rock. A heavy vibration rips through the air, echoing across the entire cavern. Caught in this whirlwind of dust and stone, he watches everything carefully. And that's where it gets crazy. Reaper 10 is confused by the sudden silence and his reinforcements being wiped out. Fed up with the delay, he decides to handle things personally. Mocking a proposal, the hooded figure says he wouldn't risk his neck for so little. With total disdain, he claims there are plenty of disposable soldiers around. Raising his arms, the hooded figure challenges them all to become players. Stunned, the monsters can barely believe they finally have a shot at becoming players. With a sneer, the dark being declares that he alone makes the rules here. Now the Reaper bacteria gain the autonomy to hunt and level up. Hiding in the rock shadows, violet eyes track every single move. Hunting fiercely, the group pushes forward to decide the clan's fate. With pure veracity, each one advances to get that level up. Probing the boss, the creatures question where the floor invader is. Curious, the tiny creatures investigate the massive chest left by the rock. Hyped by the discovery, the small monster raves about hoarding all the coins. With razor-sharp claws, the little critter forces the heavy chest open. Stalling, the heavy mechanism creaks as the lid finally gives way. A massive claw lunges forward, ready to crush everything in its path. Striking with full power, the impact shakes the air and shatters the frame. With a sharp snap, the chest finally pops open to reveal what's inside. Wrapped in a crimson aura, the creature darts across the scene. And that's where it gets crazy. They freeze up as the floor cracks beneath their feet. Confused, the small being focuses hard on what caused that blast. Sparks crackle as an overwhelming force tears through the environment. Stuck in the glowing trap, the creature lets out desperate grunts. Crimson energy waves distort the air, carving a path of destruction on the ground. Totally in shock, the creature stalls, unable to grasp what it just saw. Looking around, doubt takes over as they wonder who else came down here. Frozen by the intense glow, the creature's eyes go wide, gripped by panic. Screaming at the top of its lungs, it demands to know who dares to challenge it. High above, a figure descends silently into the vastness of the cavern. Milan mumbles an apology, her hands trembling as she keeps her bow leveled. Annoyed by the lack of focus, her ally gives the girl a piece of her mind, wondering how an archer mushroom born from a beetle acts so timid. Under the pressure, the little archer keeps shaking, stuttering another apology. A blade charged with electricity slices through the air, ready for impact. With a lightning-fast move, a hand snatches the arrow mid-flight. Frustrated, the creature refuses to show even a hint of weakness. With the snap of the fingers, the blade cuts through, splitting the path with pure energy. Showing total disdain, the creature spits out an insult, calling them mere germs. Standing alone on the field, the small creature takes an arrow straight on. Now the weird creatures surround the target, eyes glowing with menace. Brushing off physical attacks, the creature mocks its opponent with total contempt, arrogantly declaring that only extreme heat can wipe out such germs. A blast of energy streaks across the ground, hitting the mark with perfect precision. With surgical accuracy, the projectile pierces the creature's armor amid the glow. A massive explosion consumes everything, turning the blast into pure fire. Celebrating the win, she jumps with excitement after her first real triumph. Demanding complete focus, she orders him to secure the target's removal. An intense gaze sweeps across the room, fueled by cold, relentless resolve. Caught off guard, her face shifts into pure confusion and shock. Debris flies everywhere as a brutal impact makes the ground tremble. Realizing his edge, the warrior finally grasps the perks of being a player. Defying all expectations, the level 8 Bacteria King celebrates his glow-up. Crouching on the uneven terrain, she watches the warrior standing at the top. Obeying right away, the cute creature admits its mistake and apologizes for the mix-up. Dashing at high speed, the impact shatters the environment nearby. With one precise strike, he crushes his opponent into the dirt. Firing off rapid arrows, she keeps the pressure on the target. Engaging in a fast-paced duel, the clash sends sparks flying everywhere. A fierce flame erupts from the projectile, hitting the colossal target dead-on. With a deafening boom, the attack collides and destroys the entire structure. Looking down with total disdain, he declares his opponent is way too weak. Noticing the failed strike, she grows frustrated by the enemy's defense. Satisfied, she claims that even just turning her head is enough for the win. Energy blasts slice through the air, forcing him to dodge at top speed. Mocking the bad aim, the creature boasts about its superior aura. And that's where it gets crazy. The monster sounds confused by the unexpected resistance. Scanning the beam, he spots a weird organic web linking everything. Invisible strings pull him toward the center, pinning him down against his will. Tugging back hard, he figures he just needs a little more power. Sparks crackle as his body gets wrapped in a pulsing energy field. With a piercing glare, she brushes off the chaos going on around her. Energized wires slice the air, hanging him high amidst the thick smoke. Barking cruel orders, she demands the monster take down its target right now. Metal shards fly as the energy cables strike the target with total precision. A swift slash cuts through the darkness, splitting the air with full force. Wide eyes reflect pure terror at the danger closing in. And just like that, raw incandescent energy explodes, radiating intense heat. Locked in place, the Mystic Guardian doesn't even attempt a single strike. Laughing wickedly, the creature feeds off the fear it's spreading. Snagged by the wires, he infects the fungal network to turn the tables. From now on, he's ignoring every command coming his way. Scornfully, the creature triggers a full-blown invasion of the global network. This is where it gets good. A glowing blade carves a lethal arc through space. Thousands of evil spheres rush forward, echoing an insane cackle through the room. Eyes glowing bright, he orders them to shut everything down and go offline. With a pinpoint strike, she slices the air with her blade of pure energy. Panicked, the little fungus creature tries to shield itself from the incoming strike. Wide-eyed, it questions in disbelief about the persistent infection. Coughing up blood, it drops to its knees as its body starts failing. On the cold floor, its vital spark fades away into nothingness. Collapsing to the ground, it loses all strength while the opponent mocks its condition. Ignoring the wound, the creature insists its airborne contagion is unstoppable. Eyes glowing with intensity, it charges with wild fury. Using the momentum, he lands a devastating kick on his opponent. And just like that, everything changed. The floor caves in and shatters under the brutal impact. Ordering everyone to fall back, the protagonist decides to face the danger alone. Standing solo amidst the rubble, he stares into the void, stone cold. With monstrous strength, the titan slams violently into the rocky wall. Looking up, he challenges the creature hovering above with a sharp tone. With a manic laugh, the monster delivers a crushing vertical strike, blocking the blow with his axe. The kid holds his ground against the intense pressure. As the minion goes down, a hidden force boosts his stats by 10%. Focusing pure electricity into his fist, he lands a charged punch. Sparks slice through the darkness as a metallic sound echoes in the air. This is where it gets good. Cold determination fills his eyes as he locks onto the target. Laughing with scorn, the creature closes in for a final attack. With the advantage secured, a smirk forms on his lips. Landing square on target, the massive strike forces the creature back. A sharp blow connects with the mark and the impact rings out, shattering everything in its path. The overwhelming power leaves nothing standing. Stunned, the creature wonders why every hit is hitting that much harder. Leaping with fury at the enemy, the kid takes full control. Surrounded by energy slashes, he ignores the danger and stays locked in. Focused, he doesn't stop the barrage until the system ping arrives. His eyes widen at the intensity of the scene. Despite being worn down, he brushes off the searing pain in every muscle. Mocking him, the creature warns that physical contact just spreads its curse. Laughing, it points out that these hits are only helping the venom travel. Activating parasitic healing, the beast ignores its wounds to regenerate. And just like that, everything changed as he sets the rules for the fight. Feeling an oppressive force, the kid bears the weight of that suffocating grip. Shouting that it's time to retaliate, the enemy delivers a devastating kick. Going all out, the kid drags his weapon across the floor, sparks flying. Burning eyes glow in the dark, staring him down with pure malicious intent. A gray blast sweeps the area, kicking up dust and crushing everything nearby. With one precise move, he swings his blade to put an end to the fight. Bathed in a sinister aura, he charges in with energy-charged claws. In a split second, a deep slash leaves a trail of lethal energy behind. Moving like a predator, he strikes the air again and again. With a deafening boom, the impact carves a massive crater into the wall. Loading up the final blow, he unleashes all his fury on the target. Pressure from the strike creates a shockwave that rattles the ground under their feet. Mocking his resistance, the being asks if he prefers a slow defeat or quick end. Confused and stunned, he wonders what those bacteria are supposed to be. And just like that, the marks fade away right before his eyes. Frustrated, the kid shouts that this whole situation is completely ridiculous. Since the armor is currently undergoing repairs, its special protection is offline. With a brutal impact, the strike lands square on his head, delivering a sharp, precise blow. He mocks the kid for relying on medicine. Finally processing what's happening, he screams the name of that strange tonic. With a swift motion, the blade cuts through the air and connects with a loud snap. No holding back, the blade pierces the target with devastating accuracy. Breaking through the inertia, a lightning-fast dash crosses his field of vision. Giving a violent tug, the warrior drags his opponent right into range. Enveloped in intense flames, the enemy charges with a precise, cutting strike. Looking back at the day before, he's still questioning that bizarre component. Flashing a confident grin, he calls other people's trash his greatest treasure. Promptly obeying, the subordinate confirms the order he received. With a slick move, he launches a beam of light that slices the air. Brutal electric discharges erupt upon the impact of the antibiotic strike. Destructive shockwaves tear through the area in an unstoppable spiral. And that's where it gets crazy as the ground collapses under the pressure. Inside the crater, he lies still following the overwhelming blast. Defeated, the opponent stares into the void left by that heavy hit. But the physical damage barely scratches his rapidly regenerating form. Bright sparks shower the air from the direct contact. Cellular growth stalls, leaving him panicking over his body's failure. Furious, he lets out a shout as his form is consumed by light. No one saw that coming, a massive shockwave making everything tremble. Meanwhile, the archers start firing net arrows to trap their targets. Giant mushrooms light up the area with an intense, mystical glow. With a satisfied smile, she points to the magical shimmer of the fungi. Making use of the ore scraps, he farms mushrooms right on the spot. Holding a pot, he announces it's finally time to eat. Yang Jun and his companions enjoy a moment of rest after the chaos. Curious about the term, the small creature asks what the meal actually is. He explains, in good humor, that it's just the standard work meal. Amused by the bad joke, the creature finally gets the wordplay. That response leaves our guy looking super awkward. A dark, intense energy takes over his whole body. Standing alone on the cliff, he goes dead silent. Realizing his minions failed, the shadow figure looks for new fodder. A sharp boom echoes out, carrying a crushing presence. But he hesitates, remembering everyone before got taken down. A blast of raw energy flashes through the area, blinding everyone. And that's where it gets good. The real battle for their fate starts now. Yet, it takes extra care and tons of patience to grow. Panicking at the sight, he screams out asking what that thing is. Steady and imposing, he glares at the creature defeated under his feet. With an intimidating look, he confronts whoever dared to step on his turf. Provoking the main character, the dark figure mocks his nickname. Swallowed by a purple glow, he vows to wipe his rival off the system right now. Activating his ultimate skill, a purple discharge devastates everything nearby. And just like that, everything gets swallowed by a vortex of destructive energy. Waves of purple power explode, sweeping across the scene with fury. Overwhelmed by panic, the rival realizes his strength is being drained away. A massive shockwave shatters the ground, wrecking everything in sight. Dust and debris blast into the sky from the sheer force. Calling for backup, he knows this mess is way too big. Demanding the item, he swings his weapon with a brutal hit. Facing that silent, dark presence, he grips the book tight. With a furious motion, his shadow arm stretches out to take what's his. A sharp impact echoes, sealing the fight with raw strength. The blow slams into the earth, sending a wave of power everywhere. Crushing the rebel, the impact forces out a pained cry. Locking eyes, he demands to know why that book matters so much. Shaking in fear, the creature begs for mercy while offering up the secret. Wanting every word, the boy points right at the book's title. And this is where it gets good. A purple, unstable aura reveals its true form. Watching the creature run, he can't believe it actually dared to flee. Vowing payback, he swears he'll bring an army back to wipe them out. In one quick move, a vacuum opens up, swallowing everything nearby. Crashing into the ground, the strike splits the earth and kicks up dust. Energy beams slice the air, making him question the whole ambush. Falling toward the ground, the young warrior feels the heavy gravity. With just a mental command, flames devour everything in their path. A blazing surge of flames climbs into the sky, tearing through the battlefield. Desperate, the opponent begs for mercy right before the finishing blow. Massive waves of scorching heat consume everything, reducing the place to ashes. Using her gear as a parachute, she guides her descent toward the ground. Confused, she wonders if she actually heard that offer to talk, valuing only the possession of the book of privileges that remained. And that's where it gets good. His real trump card is granting status to characters. Questioning their fate, the group wonders if they're just pawns in the game now. Scanning the log, he realizes a harsh truth about their existence. The girl asks if the system solution is just using players as bait. Suddenly, a strange signal vibrates, taking over the screen with an urgent connection request. A brushing off of fear, he dares the group to face the mystery. A dark silhouette radiates energy, manifesting a direct link to the system. A voice filled with hatred echoes, aiming all that rage straight at him. A dense, shadowy aura cloaks the opponent, making it clear the danger is real. The dark figure demands an explanation for the delay, claiming to have fixed a pesky glitch. Exasperated, the entity orders the error log to be closed immediately. Seizing the opening, he asks what the next command is going to be. Corrupted data on the third floor needs a quick fix from the kid. Wrapped in dark energy, the spectral figure holds an ancient book. Soon, he asks if the next move is heading down to the third floor. Refusing to be used as bait, the kid spreads his mycelium to scout around. Noticing her ally is gone, the girl asks about Milan, sounding worried. Searching the network for her, he realizes the signal just vanished. Desperate, he calls out for the mushroom while his connection fails completely. Signaling his position, the creature says he found something major down there. Stepping into the massive cavern, they hunt for answers in the gloom. Frustrated, he hears that any new connection gets force cut down there. Scanning the giant roots, he notices they're all gnawed up and full of holes. Heart racing, he fears some devourer creature might be lurking nearby. Determined, he decides to go save Milan himself. No second thoughts. Clarifying the situation, she explains that their usual search method failed. Being trapped in hostile territory would leave them with no backup plan. Firmly, she insists on going alone to get the mission done. Reassuring his ally, he tells her not to worry about a thing, but she guarantees that the insects can't see a single thing out there, giving instructions on what to do once he hits the highest point. Scouting the surroundings with its antennae, the insect tracks a signal. Hitting the rock, the necklace swings from the force of the strike. And that's where it gets crazy. Spotting the trap, the insect releases a chemical scent of pheromones. Charging through the dirt, the creature moves with pure speed. Coded messages come through, translated for easier reading. And that's where it gets crazy. They're panicking over the protagonist's rise to power. Catching a ride on the worker, he slips in completely unnoticed, deciding to spread the mycelium to take over the area. Tasting the energy, the creature shouts out in satisfaction. Thousands of creatures advance in a coordinated swarm. Now it all makes sense why Milan stayed off the grid. Dozens of worker ants patrol the tunnel with surgical precision. With a massive impact, the ground gives way to the destructive force. Showing off the new fungus, the servant claims he'll feed the master. With a deafening boom, the projectile shatters the rock barrier. Sawdust and spores reveal the layout of their fungus farm. Asking for calm, he keeps everyone steady with a firm voice. Surrounded by rubble, the small being watches the target trapped in the debris. Clearing things up, Shashung explains the ants only want the spores. With a gentle gesture, the speaker asks for news about a specific girl. Shaking his head, the fungus makes it clear he has no clue who that is. With that airy vibe and a guilty look, she always hits him with a sorry for everything. And just like that, a brilliant idea lights up the room. Pointing at the fungus, he reveals who the captive creature actually is. Scrambling away, the little guy doesn't even look back when questioned. Debating their tragic fate, she reminds everyone they might get eaten. Refusing to budge, the creature shakes its head in total denial. But running now means facing the incoming danger of the ants. Desperate, the creature begs for it all to end as everything collapses. A heavy impact echoes, leaving the little guy totally confused. A claw slams to the ground, sending dust flying everywhere. Carefully, the little creature peeks out to see what's going on. Eyes widening in shock, he freezes up completely. And just like that, the creature lets out a sigh in disbelief. Gripped by terror, he wonders what kind of beast that could be. Nothing to do now but watch as the threat crawls outside. A shadowy voice booms, marking the deadline and the offering to the king. Confused, he tries to wrap his head around this bizarre phenomenon. Shaken by the destruction, the little guy asks what's happening. A scream rings out, challenging anyone hiding in the shadows. With a massive boom, dark energy explodes and swallows the room. Moving fast, the warrior counterattacks and dodges the fatal blow. Reunited, the creature trusts a captain to keep them safe. With a brutal impact, the strike cuts through the air with dark energy. Smiling in relief, the little creature thanks its captain. Under the weight of a powerful blow, the little creature just lets out a muffled groan. Face full of rage, the lady scolds the unforgivable failure. Sprinting across the dry ground, they make a quick escape. Worried about the horde of soldiers, the girl asks how to get out. Her attention gets hooked by something right there on the side. Yelling to stop, she freezes right in her tracks. And that's where it gets crazy. A deafening boom stops the movement mid-air. Mindful of the heavy energy nearby, she warns about a possible attack. Down there, silence reigns while the danger piles up. With cruel intentions, the monster orders an immediate strike. Ripping through the silence, a sharp blade slices the air at high speed. Gripping the rock with brutal force, they make the ground tremble, wondering if they fell into a trap of false information. Delivering a brutal blow, the attack launches a heavy rock with full force. Testing the resistance, he sets the softness level to 1. Small and strange, the little creature watches everything in total silence. Enraged, the monster snaps back at the tiny being's nerve with a clear insult. Countless crawling creatures advance with total ferocity. Backed against the rocky wall, she watches the hostiles move in. Noticing something unexpected, just a brief comment slips out. Warning of the danger, the captain says the noise will attract the termites. Stepping down hard, the ground gives way under the overwhelming impact. Tears falling, she makes desperate eye contact. Screaming an urgent warning, she faces the imminent threat. From the impact, she's sent flying through the air with a cry of terror. With a deafening boom, the strike crushes the rocky surface. Sparks fly everywhere as blades collide with raw power. Locked in a strength contest, the blade holds the creature's colossal weight. In a panic, the little creature calls for the captain amidst the chaos. Even under pressure, she orders everyone to follow the original plan. Gritting her teeth, she guarantees the mission will be finished as agreed. And that's where it gets good. Electric sparks explode as the weapons clash. Focusing ahead, her eyes widen at the real threat emerging. Leaping with agility, she strikes the ground with surgical precision. Taking a guard stance, she stares down the captain with blades ready. Besides that, he warns that ambushes are already waiting on her path. That ant soldier clearly had a power spike, gaining intelligence to speak. Scanning the field, she mocks the tiny resistance left behind. Firming her resolve, she shows total faith in her partner. Confusion fills the air as she starts attacking herself. Firing a perfect shot, the projectile tears through the air. With that quirky hat hiding her face, she picks up the pace. Smashing into the rock, the strike leaves a massive, deep crack. Quick to respond, the boss suggests testing the creature's instincts. Mocking them, she asks if they don't love munching on that mycelium. Luring them into the trap, the goal is to keep them full. Blinded by greed, the beast eats it without sensing the danger. Confused, the bug realizes its meal just vanished. Demanding more, one creature rushes in while the big one gobbles it all. Calling for backup, it orders another worker to come feed it. Handing over the glowing orb, she offers the meal to the master. Blown away by the wit, the ally admits only the captain could pull this off. Possessive, the creature growls that nothing is being shared. And just like that, everything changes as the hive turns into a civil war. Consumed by pure rage, the monster lets out a wild war cry, striking the target. The archer flies through the air with lethal aim. The impact echoes hard, sending bright sparks flying off the target. That surface holds up against the projectile crashing into it. Taunting him, he claims only hits to the armor gaps will work. Startled, the creature feels the strike land right on its gear. Using shadow steps, she vanishes right before the beast's eyes. Gathering all her energy, she unleashes a massive blast of power. With energy pulsing, the attack slices through the air and nails the target. Now, the armor's durability fails under the weight of those 3 projectiles. Getting confused, the creature feels that strange energy piercing its defense, but the enemy pushes back, swearing their armor is way too tough to break. Channeling raw power, a crimson aura wraps around his hands with intensity. Flat on the ground, the bug scoffs, mocking the girl for missing the mark. And that's where it gets crazy. The monster stammers, questioning how that blade even exists. With one precise motion, he activates his special skill, the thread cut step. A bright flash lights up the area, landing a devastating blow.